Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SOLIS. Thank you for being here with us. Our designers, promotion team, and models have worked so hard to put this show together, and we can't wait for you guys to see the results. The show features the design work from our capstone design studio apparel course, in addition to work completed by fashion studies students in some of our other design classes. The production of the show has been organized by our fashion merchandising students in their fashion promotion course.
But before we dive into the stunning collections, let's take a moment to recognize the heart and the soul of the designers. That will be our models. These individuals are more than just faces on a catwalk. They are vibrant storytellers that breathe life into the threads of the fabric so that you get to experience living art. Most of our models are not professionals. In fact, many of them had never walked a runway before we began practicing. Some of them were a little shy. So I'm gonna ask all the audience members if you can show the models some of your energy. Let them feel your excitement because it means the world to them. And here at the fashion department for College of DuPage, we like to celebrate our wins, and we also like to celebrate our learning moments. So in case one of the models happens to stumble, I want you to applaud much harder for them because it's more about how we rise than how we fall. They put countless hours into this, over 55 in model practices, as well as learning lessons about fashion. And we hope you enjoy the show as much as we enjoy putting it on. So without further ado, thank you very much for your time, and let's get started with the show.
So creativity has always been a part of my life. I've always been drawing, but I actually originally went to school for architecture. I will usually focus on a specific idea or concept, and I'll sit and draw for hours, and eventually I'll find something that I really love, and I'll focus on that, and that's usually when I get my best work. Design is an expression of my creativity. It's something that I always am thinking about. I'm always trying to find something that is interesting, and how can I twist it, and how can I come up with something new. I'm focusing on the contrast between structure and fluidity. So there's a lot of structured elements in my designs with flowy layers. There were a few. A couple of my designs have underskirts, and my first iteration had gathering at the waist, which added a bit too much bulk. So my second design has two circle skirts together to create a lot of volume at the bottom where I wanted it. It's exciting. It's been so busy that I haven't really taken much of a step back to appreciate what I've done, but it's been really nice to see things come together.
I love fashion from a very young age. Me and my grandma, she would help me make Halloween costumes and sew clothes for my dolls. That creative freedom really had helped me with my passion for fashion. Growing up in a small town, it was very slow life, sewing with my grandma. She always sewed clothes for my dad and all of his brothers growing up in the 70s. And watching my papa always have his old Westerns on, so Western influence is a big thing. Listening to 70s and early 80s music of my dad's was always a big part of my life, and I still listen to that music. My garments mean everything to me. Growing up, I wasn't the best at school, so succeeding and being so good at designing and sewing really helps with my confidence. All this effort and work putting into this collection means a lot to me, and it helps me being motivated because my grandma has had such a big influence on it about sewing, and my papa that I just passed away is really motivating me to follow through with this.
My passion for designing started at a young age, watching my mother sew. Seeing her bring fabrics to life inspired me to create my own pieces. I began by researching, sketching, and exploring different silhouettes and details that will reflect my concept. Then I experience with fabrics, draping, textures that will help bring my vision to life. My garments are a form of storytelling and self-expression. Each design represents emotions, memories, and inspirations that I've translated into wearable art. Designing to me is about creating something meaningful that connects with people, invokes feelings, and allows them to express themselves in a unique way. My current designs are inspired by the beauty and complicity of flowers. I often had to tweak certain elements as the design evolves. Sometimes a fabric or silhouette doesn't work out as expected, so I adjust and refine the concept. These changes did encourage me to explore new designs and ultimately enhance the final piece. It's a mix of excitement and fulfillment. It does feel incredibly rewarding to see my designs and sketches come to life. I think it is also a powerful reminder that creativity and hard work can turn a vision into reality.
I found my passion for designing at a very young age while watching my grandmother sew. I've always had a fascination with art ever since I was a young, little child, and I love to incorporate that into my designs and into my pieces. I essentially like to make moving and walking art on the body. My garments hold a very special place in my heart. I think it's really hard to not get attached to something that you work so hard on for such a long period of time as well. I almost view it as like an extension of me as an artist and as a designer, and that artistic vision kind of coming to life. Design means a lot to me. It's a form of expression that is limitless in my eyes. I believe it being an extension of my feelings, experiences, and emotions. It's very rewarding, and it's a very happy feeling seeing what was once on paper kind of come to life in front of your eyes. It's very fulfilling and exciting. It makes you remember all the struggles that you went through to kind of get to that goal, and it just makes you very proud of yourself and your peers, like seeing what everyone else does around you. It's a very fulfilling feeling at the end of the day.
I found my passion for designing like a lot later than a lot of people do. I found it towards the end of like my senior year. I started to develop my personal style towards the end of high school, and then I just was like, oh, maybe I should try fashion design, because originally I wasn't gonna go to school, and then I just randomly applied here, and then I fell in love with it. But when I like think about it now, I kind of like can see like earlier memories of my childhood of like noticing how creative I was as a child. To me, it means everything. Like my work embodies me as a person and everything that I believe in and what I love. So, I mean, it would just only be everything because it is me, like my work embodies me as a person. My inspirations would definitely be my personal style. I really like hardware. I like grungy looks, so I definitely make sure I prioritize like my aesthetic within my own garments. And then music, honestly, I really love electronic music like Crystal Castles and a lot of other artists that really help me bring forward what I love. I was able to find a middle ground with how my collection represents me. I started off with a movie that I really love, and it's Sucker Punch. The concept is about a girl who is working for an underground brothel, and she has to perform for these richer like individuals, and she gears towards escapism to help her. And I feel like as a child and being so imaginative, I can understand like using escapism as a way to not deal with your current reality. And I was able to see myself do have patterns of escapism, whether it's like my personal interests and stuff like that, and just wanting to not be in the current position that I'm in. For color choices, the beginning of the collection, I chose to do all black. And the reason I chose to do that was because I saw the garments in their best form. I could only ever see black. I originally had a very muddy and earthy color palette at first, but I decided to change it because when I envision the garments, I don't see them in those colors. I see them in all black.
So I first started sewing when I was about 5 or 6. I can't remember exactly which year, when my mom's mother started to show me how to hand sew toy little clothes for my plushies. And then I started making clothes for myself when I started doing cosplay. And then last year I really got a passion of doing original designs when I started becoming a type of musical performer called a Kaigai idol, or an overseas idol, where basically you take the idea of the idol culture from Japan and you do it here. So for that, I have to make my own outfits for myself and for my group of 6. My creative process involves listening to music as I design. I really have to think of like a song to help me get ideas, and it also helps me because to me, because of what I do outside of school with fashion, making sure everything looks good with movement, with turns, with spins is very important to my design. My garments mean to me perseverance. It means taking everything, every hardship in my life, and turning any negative that any person has ever said to me about myself and using my designs to turn it into a positive. I wanted to do a little different than my usual style for my collection, but I still wanted to pick something for my theme that was very close to home. So I decided to pick a Japanese phrase used in the idol community called daremo daisuki, meaning you don't have a favorite in a group. You love everyone. But generally also, if you turn daremo into a negative, it means no one. So I decided to use that a bit on its head and make my theme be everyone and no one at the same time. The feeling that you have people with you, but you still feel extremely lonely. I had a neckline. I wanted to attempt something called a Grecian neckline. And I was going to do multiple designs of it. I had to keep tweaking it because I was really struggling with the pattern process. So yeah, I need to edit that, make it a little different, keep adjusting it. So I feel like the best way for me to come across my feelings and my passion for something and what I want is through making it real life and in 3D.
My mom has a sewing machine, and then when I little, I participated like kindergarten concert, and she made a like costume and dress and also winter jacket to me. So seeing her like all of that process of like making garment, it gives me like big inspiration of that. And however, I chose like different path in my career path, and then I wasn't happy. And then like one day like, I'm not happy for doing that. And then I'm like, maybe I should change my career. And then that's why I came to America. The sketch, the garment sometimes wasn't like what I imagined in my head. And I was more realistic way when I choosing that things, fabric, color, and like, does it really work in turn out like this way? And always like also not like expecting perfect garment from me, because during study stage I'm like learning, developing. I made a mistake and try again different. So I wasn't expect perfect thing, but I enjoying the process of doing that things.
My passion for designing is a little bit recent. I've always been really into like illustration and art in general, but fashion is kind of something I've grown to love in the past, I'd say 5 years. My creative process involves a lot of sketching, and I'm a very technical person, so I like to really dive into those sketches and really figure out how the garment is going to be made. I think design is a reflection of the things that you're passionate about and kind of a part of your identity. My collection kind of reflects the edginess that I have in my style. It's a little bit more exaggerated and a different type of edginess. For the design specifically for this collection, I have a lot of really exaggerated shoulders. I was inspired by the industrial music scene of the late 90s, early 2000s. There were a lot of musicians who were wearing just like bright white clothing with blue. And then on the flip side, very dark, kind of gothic outfits. Seeing my sketches come to life feels really nice because I'm so used to seeing it on a piece of paper, and seeing it on an actual human being or on a dress form feels really nice.
I found my passion in design when I was 15 years old. I began by sketching a lot, and then I truly fell in love with design when I saw my first Zach Posen show on YouTube. So that really began my passion and love for fashion design. My creative process is that I begin with sketching ideas, and then after that I tend to drape. And then after that, I basically just edit for what works on the garment and my ideas. My garments mean to me is success because I worked so hard to come to this point, and I'm very proud of what I've achieved. And design to me means freedom to create what you would like to express or what you have as an idea. My collection reflects a flowy style and silhouette that I find to be timeless and beautiful. My theme and color story are darker in tone and implement elements of nature. Okay, so my inspiration comes from life experiences, and I went on a trip to the Redwoods in California, and that really inspired me. I was drawn to the color of the redwoods and the elements in nature that I saw there. Yes, I had to actually change my creative process because as I mentioned before, I start with paper, I sketch, and then I drape it. And sometimes what comes onto the dress form isn't what you expected on paper, so you have to make some tweaks and changes to adjust to figure out how it will work out. It feels very rewarding to see my garments come to life, and it's very exciting to also see the creative process come to fruition and to be able to see it on the runway as well.
I just like designing. I like, creating new things, different fabrics, textures, things like that. I actually have a degree in sculpture and photography. I did a lot of photo shoots, and a lot of times I would costume the people for the photo shoots. I would choose what they wore. And then later on, I made some outfits that then I would use for photo shoots. Did the same thing with my daughter. So the photography's kind of gone with that for a long time. And I think it started pretty much when I was in high school, and I sort of learned that I can make my own choices about fashion and things like that. So I kind of think about concept a lot of times first. And then if I have a concept that I like, then I go ahead and try to move in that direction with the sketching and with the designs and things like that. We all have a choice about what we wear. So the things that we wear kind of show, things about us, what our choices are, what we want to show the world, what parts of us we want to, express through our clothing and through our garments that we wear. So my collection is based a lot on what I see every day. My collection's kind of based on doctors, nurses, chaplains, patients, hospital gowns, things like that. So I sort of took that as an inspiration and then just sort of tweaked it into sort of like a fashion kind of presentation. It's really cool. I mean, I started out, not knowing what everything's going to look like, and I still don't know what everything's going to look like in the end. But that's kind of the fun part. You get to create, and then you see what your end product is, and what creations that you're able to make. So.
I didn't start off as a fashion major, nor did I ever intend to become a fashion major. I came into this school in the arts, fine arts. So I like to start off with thumbnail sketches. So, those are really tiny sketches of your ideas put out onto a page. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's what I love about them. You put any and every idea. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, as long as you're getting it out there. It doesn't. You don't have to remember it for later. It's down, and there's a visual example of it for you. And then process of elimination to the final 6 was really difficult. You have. So I like to work with extremes, I guess, and that's where that balance comes into play. I like opposites. I love juxtaposition, and the 2 main colors in my collection are a navy blue and an ivory white. I guess the initial idea of this was painting in general. My main medium as an artist is painting. Yeah, these are all clothes that I would probably wear growing up. So it's very much like things that I imagined myself wearing growing up, but I wasn't allowed to wear. I love just a tangible reward for the things I create, whether that be a canvas that I can hang on a wall, or clothes that I can wear, or jewelry I can adorn.
Well, I've always liked drawing, but in middle school we had a required home ec class, so I learned how to sew there, and it just went from there. Generally speaking, it's usually through music or movies. I really like costume design, so I draw a lot of inspiration from characters, and then I just go from there. My garments for this collection, at least, is being able to tap into that costume design of me. I really like theater, so it's being able to use that creative side of me. And then for design overall, just being able to put movable art. That's what I think fashion is, movable art. I would almost say it doesn't reflect my personal style. I wear more basic stuff, and then I make my designs really out there and flamboyant and have a lot of character to it, so it's almost the opposite of what I would usually wear. It's pretty cool. It's nice because in past classes you had some restrictions of what you were supposed to make or certain requirements you had to follow, but with this you have kind of a free-for-all, so you're able to have a bit more creative control, which is really nice.
Let's give one more round of applause to our designers, models, and fashion show production team. Thank you guys for coming to this special event and witnessing all the work that the students in the fashion department put forth to make this happen. In addition to the runway show, please make sure you take a look at more work from our design students towards the back windows and in the hallway ahead of me.